I want to welcome you all into our Instant Customer Weekly webinar. This is episode number 006. And today on the screen we have, first of all, let me just say Instant Customer. I'm sorry, Rick, I have to do your part, and it's not down pat yet. Instant Customer is the fastest, easiest way to build a list, sell books, products, services, make money, build an intimate, authentic relationship with your prospects and customers, and do it all on autopilot. That's my favorite part, the autopilot. If you don't have Instant Customer and you're looking to join up, be a member, you can get it now by going to instantcustomer.com/get-secret. All right, let's get down to the fun today. Rick, you want to let everybody know what IC is for?
Oh my gosh, we obviously know that it is only for smart small business people, authors, experts, speakers, consultants, and service professionals. Really for anyone that realizes that, you know, the traditional methods of advertising and marketing are pretty outdated, and you really do need to use as many really what we call channels of building your list as possible, and then marketing directly to your list.
Right, awesome. Hey, I'm getting some feedback. People say there might be a little bit of an echo with your voice. Can somebody else confirm that? I did have something from Jerry. Is anybody else hearing that as well when Rick speaks? Give us just a minute. We'll see if we can fix this audio issue.
Plug it in straight.
Okay, people say that, Rick, you do sound fine, so I'm going to unmute you again. I muted you temporarily so that we could make sure. Okay, Rick is on the road. So okay, great. Rick is on the road, so we are doing this from two different places, and one of them is constantly moving. Moving along for us then. IC is for smart, everybody, and here's what you'll discover today with us. Today we're going to cover first, we're going to learn some tips from the Instant Customer pros. That would be Rick and I. And then we're going to do a case study. Today is going to be awesome because we're going to talk about how to make Instant Customer really rock it for trade shows. Then we'll take some questions, and at the end of the hour we've got some special offers. And before we begin, I'd like to say that this webinar is being recorded, and it will be available as soon as we can after the meeting up in your Instant Customer inbox. You can find a link to all of our webinars there. If you have any questions during this webinar, please go ahead and put them in your little chat box. We will go through them periodically, but because two of us are remotely today, please be patient with us there, and please phrase your question so that it makes a complete question instead of just referencing what might be on the screen at the moment you have the question, because what might be on the screen when you have the question is probably not going to be there when we get back around to it. So write out your entire question. It might take an extra second, but it definitely will help us to be able to speak to it easier.
And definitely keep your questions to the material that we're talking about, to keep it, you know, in the flow of that. If you do have other questions, we will try to handle those at the very end of the podcast. Right.
No promises if we can get to them or not. This one I think is going to run a little bit long on topic, so we're just going to look first for the topic questions.
Great.
Okay, and our tip of the week. Now, Rick, this is going to be a surprise for you, but our tip of the week is
I want to know what the tip of the week is.
Tip of the week is about forwarding calls. You can actually set your Instant Customer campaign up with an incoming message like we've talked about in other webinars, and if somebody presses the number 1, you can route that call anywhere you like. So, for example, your message might be asking people to leave a message if they want to join your campaign, and if they want to speak to you directly, you can put your phone number in there and just have the call automatically route to your phone. This is awesome for live assistance. If you're in sales like real estate or something that requires immediate action, if you are maybe a doctor or dentist, you can have people transfer to your phone right away. The best way to do this is in your inbound message, that greeting that you record and leave on your campaign. Make sure that you announce to people that they can press 1 to be transferred to you right away. So that's our tip of the week.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip. I'm going to just make a couple of comments on there just to kind of help out. Um, I mean, I like to think of that as taking care of your hot leads, your warm leads, and then trying to ramp up your cold leads into warm leads. So you lead off with, if you really need to talk to me, press one, and then that direct the call. And then if you just want the report, or however they got the number, whatever the offer was, to get my offer, press two, leave your name and email, and then again the rest of your greeting should be getting them to either press one or two. That's the whole point of it. The nice thing that people use for like a dentist office or something like that, they'll use this to confirm the leads. Just keep in mind that when people are routing through the system, you are using points, so it's got to be worth it on that level. I think that's the only real caveat that you got to keep in mind when using it.
And I would add that you don't really need to, that you don't be nitpicking over your points. If it's a hot lead, if somebody wants to speak to you, chances are really great that it's a hot lead, and go ahead and spend those points on that. That's my 2 cents
Oh
on
yeah, I
it.
mean that's better than 2 cents. I mean, your return on investment on that's huge. I mean, that
Exactly.
gives you the best chance to close. I mean, you can both build the list and close at the same time there. That's huge. So,
Right.
definitely take advantage of it. Again, I think your return on investment there is really good.
I agree. Okay, our hero of the week this week um, is John Cody. John, at the end of last week, signed a model for an international campaign. So this is going to be interesting because the campaigns are going to be running in the US and in Europe, and they'll probably be a little bit different in each place, but the overall objective is to get people to register for a membership site. There's going to be like an aspiring models training site, membership site. He's going to be using a book scraper campaign for a book that's coming out in late 2012. And he's got a whole bunch of things. I don't want to reveal all, but John's been talking with me about this campaign, and he posted it up in Honor Roll this week, and I think he's got a seriously good thing going on here. He set it up with a setup fee, which was really hefty. Much, much fatter than any model would ever be, and percentage of sales. So I think John's about to really make a big impact both in this model's world and in his own. So congratulations, John. You are the hero of the week.
Nice job, John. Hey, that looks like a future topic for us right there on the receipt scraper. For
Yeah.
anybody that's got books or has any sales, a lot of times either you just can't, if somebody buys your book on Amazon, you don't even know who they are. But if you can put something out there from the forward their Amazon receipt to your list to get maybe another bonus. I know David Bach uses this, and Tim Ferriss uses this as well as a way to build the list so you can actually know who bought your book. And actually, we get a lot of information off that receipt, so that could be a nice topic for a future broadcast there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The other thing that that I like doing with this campaign, with the whole thing that John's got going on here, is John can also run a campaign before the book comes out to get the interest levels up too, using things like social media, which I think he's probably planning to do. But this is an international, well-known in Europe, like really, really famous model, and I don't think they'll have any problem attracting attention beforehand and getting people to join their campaign and their membership site. So it's going to be a really fun one to watch. All right, so let's jump into today's topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Is he going to be doing internet? Go ahead.
Say that again, Rick. You cut out.
I was just wondering if he's going to be using any of our international stuff then.
Oh, he's going to be using a lot of it.
Is that all domestic?
No, it's
nice.
half and half, and it actually is going to be really heavily rooted in Europe. So that's one of the reasons I picked him. He's got international campaign. He's got multiple campaigns. He's a really interesting and very creative funding model, and and he's using some campaigns that people haven't talked a whole lot about, like the receipt scraper. So yeah, way to go, John's.
That's great.
John's a big hero on this. So
yeah,
today's topic.
It's a really good.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say it's a really good example of somebody who looks at all of the tools we have and is using what's appropriate for him.
Yeah, and this is the one thing I keep saying on all of our webinars is I really love it, and I think the campaigns are most successful when people think outside of the box. So, when people came in on Mojo, it was all everything's in the box, everything's in the box. But I want you to think that, yeah, everything's in the box, but go ahead and think of creative new ways to use it. Think outside of the box with the tools that you brought inside of the box, because that's where your real sweet spot is. That's where you bring something to your customers that nobody else can bring them. And I think that's the key to capitalizing on Mojo. So today's
Great.
case study is trade shows, and this is one near and dear to both my heart and Rick's because we were at a trade show ourselves, and we've helped clients going to trade shows. So how can Instant Customer help at trade shows? It can help you capture leads. It can help you qualify your prospects, connect with everybody on your list, and save time and money for your customer. And we're going to get into each of these topics individually now. So start first with capturing your leads. The most important thing, I think, and Rick, jump in anytime you like here, is knowing your audience, knowing who's going to be at that trade show. And I say this because if you know who the audience is, you'll have a really good idea about how to attract and capture that lead. And it will probably surprise you. It's not going to be all the time what you think it's going to be. And here's an example from Book of Gene. Gene set up a campaign for lead capture at a trade show, and I was amazed when I immediately spotted that more people were calling the text-in number than I had even considered. So I set it up as a text campaign, text your name and number in, and people weren't doing that, they were calling. So know your
Yeah, that
audience.
surprised me too.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Recently I had a client who had a campaign, and I actually kind of anticipated this because of the first time it happened. He had a campaign running at a trade show that was for RV owners. Now, who owns an RV? Mostly older people. Most of them, almost 90% of them, dialed in instead of using text message. So know your audience. It'll make a big difference in your campaign. And then my next point is
Yeah, and
use. Go ahead.
well, that's actually what I was going to go into right there. So go ahead.
I was going to say it brings me right into point number 2, which is use multiple channels.
It really does.
Always, always, always set it up to use multiple channels, because you might think they're going to text in, or you might think they're going to call in, and they'll all surprise you and ask if there's a website. The most successful trade show campaign that I ran just finished up the first round last week, and we set it up with a lead capture page, a QR code that went to the lead capture page. We set it up with dial-in voice and text messages. And every single channel fired up for this. So that these people were able to capture almost 3% of the entire trade show audience. It's crazy. So my next point is use everything available to you. And this actually has relatively little to do with the Instant Customer campaign and absolutely everything to do with how you tell people about the campaign. So pop-up banners, signs. At the last campaign that we ran, I convinced them all to get Rick, can you mute please? Thank you. I convinced everybody that was going to be there to print t-shirts that had a QR code on the back. The QR code went to their lead capture page, and the t-shirt on the back was a promotion for their contest that was getting people to come into their lead capture. And it said, you want to win a hot rod? Just scan me. And it had a big picture of the QR code. And while they were standing in line or walking around the floor, people were scanning them. So use everything available to you. And then my last point on capturing leads is sell it. And what I mean by sell it is make sure that everybody in your trade show booth knows everything they can about the campaign. Make sure they've tried the campaign so they know what to expect. Make sure they can talk to anybody that walks up about how to join the campaign, and that they can coach anybody that might need some help getting through it. And really, if you've got people in your booth that are fun to talk to, and they know what they're talking about, and they can also talk about how somebody can get into your campaign. You're going to have a better show. You're going to have more people go into the campaign just because they're talking to the folks on the floor. Rick, your thoughts on
Yeah, I think
this?
that not only goes, yeah, that doesn't only go to that, but that goes to selling the your client on this going into it so that their enthusiasm carries into the trade show with their whole team. I think that's what you had going on that last one that you did, and one of the reasons why it was so successful, quite frankly. You had everybody on board with it. They were really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
You had good preparation going in, so you focused on a couple of the channels, but you had everything available. So you didn't. They left no money on the table there. They
Yeah.
got, like you said, they got access to probably more people than anybody else in that trade show, and now everything after that then has to do with focusing on the follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I have to say, that was really, I think, the turning point for an average campaign and a really successful campaign. I told them my thoughts and feelings on it and how I thought they should spend some time training people, because they had also hired a couple of temporary staffing members just to make sure that the traffic flowed and whatever. And they had a small booth. These guys did not have the biggest booth in the trade show. They just had a 10 by 10 booth. Somebody was asking, Kristen Moore was asking, what percentage did they capture? There was an estimated 20 or 25,000 people at this trade show, Kristen, and they captured almost 3% of that. So now the next thing is, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but the point that Rick and I are trying to make here is what worked for them is every single suggestion that I gave them, they implemented. And so we left no money on the table. We took no prisoners on this. Everything was all out. Everybody did it. They had t-shirts, they had posters, they had tablets so people could sign up if they didn't have a cell phone. They had every mechanism available, and they worked it. And it really, really, really worked for them. And I'm going to talk about some other things about this one in just a slide or two, too. There were some really amazing things that came of this. Okay, so capture the leads, sell it, make sure everybody knows what's going on here. Use every channel and everything available to you so that people know how to get into your campaign. The next big thing that you can do for anybody at a trade show is qualify the prospects. There's nothing worse, I think, than getting this gigantic list of everybody and having these not be your buyers, right? So how do you go about qualifying prospects? First thing is know who the buyer is. And if you know who the buyer is, you can sort all the prospects on your list so that your top potential buyers are the people your sales team is contacting first. And they can work the list down from there. The reason you want to do this, the reason you want to make it easy for your sales team to go and talk to those people first, is that leads get cold. When they leave the show, they're very fired up about your products. They want to make something, a purchase. They know that what you saw was awesome. The longer you wait to get in touch with them, and the further you are from the show when you do get in touch with them, the less likely they're going to want to buy. And what might even happen is when they're all fired up and they haven't heard from you, or they're 500 on the list for you to call, they're going to go someplace else. So you need to qualify those prospects, make sure you've got the buyers at the top, and that you're calling them or interacting with them first. Now, how do you know how to qualify the prospects? I always start by questioning my customer. I ask them, who is your buyer? Tell me what I need to know about that buyer so that I can construct a campaign that targets the buyer. If you're having people join your campaign by text message, you can just run a couple of really quick interactive messages that qualify or disqualify somebody from the list of buyers. And Jody and Eric talked about this in one of their campaigns where they were setting up appointments for the solar panel place. Well, one of their buyers, one of their qualifications rather for being a buyer was you had to be a homeowner. If you were a home renter, they weren't interested in working with you. So one of the questions they asked right away is, do you own your home? And if people said no, they went straight to the bottom of the list. You can do this at a trade show to qualify your prospects so that when you get back from the show, you are only spending your time on the people that are likely to buy. Thoughts on this, Rick?
And so, Gina, are you doing that mostly through text only? You do that through email a little bit, or?
It depends on the show. The last show, they were mostly qualified by the fact that they were at the RV show, because my customer was going to be selling something that RV owners would be interested in. So that was the first round of qualification. The next round was really not done through our text messaging. It was done through email. And the reason we did it through email is we figured with an RV show, most of the customers at the RV show, most of the prospects were older, and we thought we would have a relatively low take on the whole text-in part, and we were right. We only got a very small percentage of people who opted in by text message. So we did it by email.
Yeah, that's what you said before. So yeah, so you followed up on that, knowing that they didn't text in the first place, so that's probably not the best way to continue to communicate with them.
Right, right. And that's exactly where I go back to know your audience before we even talk about knowing the buyer. If you know who they are, you can construct something that will work. And all this can happen while you're at the show. The follow-up can start while you're still at the show. Qualifying people can start while you're still at the show. And you will get a real sense from the people's responses who might be a really ideal customer. We did have some people opt in by SMS, and those people actually left some pretty lengthy messages for us, and those people were really, really hot prospects. I mean, they were telling us all kinds of things that were exactly the demographic we were looking for, and these people were looking for a solution. So there was a lot of good things that came out of that process. I'm going to jump now to our next slide, which is connect. So once you've got a list and you've started to sort that list, and you can know who your primary targets are, you can connect with them. Connect by email, by voicemail, by text message, and by video. And this is something that people often overlook. At the last trade show campaign, again, we had them do a quick little video. So they walked around and they talked to random people that were at the show, and they asked them questions about owning an RV and whether or not they had what my client was offering. And then they took those videos and they put them up on their Facebook pages. So they tied their videos with the show and tied them both with their social media. And then they got an opportunity, people on their Facebook page had an opportunity to again join their campaign. So there was a lot of cross-channel mojoing going on there, and it worked really well for them. The other points I want to make about connecting with people is don't overwhelm these people. If you're at a trade show, they're going to get a million pieces of email when they're done, right? So you want to think about your timing, and you want to time it so that they're likely to read your message and not see it as part of the overwhelm from being at the show. Now, things like direct to voicemail and text messaging cut through that overwhelm noise, if you will, and they do it better than email, in my opinion. But they don't relay as much information. So you need to kind of walk this really delicate line between getting in touch with them and getting your message out there. And so some combination is probably where you want to work. And again, knowing your audience will help you figure out where that is and what that is. And then connect with all of your other channels. Like I said with the video that my customer did, if you have a YouTube channel, make sure that you're using it. If you have a Facebook channel, make sure that you're using it. Tie them all together. Tie them all to your campaign and work them all up at once. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a Facebook page and you have a Twitter account and you're going to a trade show in 2 weeks. Why not make a note of that on your Twitter account 2 weeks ahead of time? Put the details on your Facebook page, make your Twitter account point to your Facebook details, make your Facebook page include as part of its details how to get more information from you. And the answer there is by joining a campaign, right? You can have them text in before they get to the show. Or you can offer something, some little tchotchke, to get them to come over to your booth once they do go to the show. so that you can have a continued discussion with them. It's all about trying to find places that you can connect with people both online and in person. And if you can do that, if you can create a connection with the prospect in a way that they will remember you, and if you are giving things away, you make sure that those things that you're giving away reminds them of your conversation or of what your products are, then they're going to want to come back to you when they're looking to buy. So you need to foster that. I want to go back now and jump in with a few questions here. We've got a ton of questions brewing. Some of the questions I hear are, how many leads can you capture with Instant Customer's mobile application? That's an awesome question, and I didn't even discuss this yet. So, what are the ways to capture your leads? You can capture your leads with a lead capture page. You can capture your leads with a text message. You can capture your leads with sorry, my brain just went off. You can capture your leads with a computer or a tablet at your booth so people can enter their information. And you can capture leads if you have an Apple iPhone with a card scanner. Now, at trade shows, people don't tend to walk around with tons of business cards. They have a limited number. But if they have one, you can take out your iPhone, download the Instant Customer app before you get to the show, scan that business card, and even hand that business card back to somebody. You are not limited in the number of business cards you can capture this way, but you do have to purchase your card scans from the Apple iStore. So keep that in mind, and it's a really good, easy way to get somebody into your campaign really quickly. Rick and I used this when we went to the West Coast Franchise Expo with Instant Customer to represent Instant Customer. And we used this with quite a few people to show them how quick and easy it was to get somebody's business card scanned. And I've also used this at other trade shows I've attended. And when I've done that, people have asked me, hey, what are you doing there? So I use that to kind of show what I can do for them in addition to getting their information so that I could call them later and have them do some work for me. Some other questions we have going here.
That's really important.
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, let me follow up on that for a sec, Gene. There are a lot of different kind of trade shows. That was a consumer trade show that you were at, but the one we went to was really more of a business-to-business type expo. And one of the most impressive things that we were able to do there was we had a booth, and you just went around to the other businesses and used that card scanner right in front of them to show them what it could do for them. So again, demonstrating the system to help sell the system. And, we picked up a number of really high quality leads from that type of thing.
Yeah, we did.
Just wanted to point,
and I've done that. I've done that once or twice since then too, just for my own business, to go out and go to a trade show and scan some business cards. It's a pretty awesome technology, and when you do that, people definitely want to know more about it.
Yeah, totally. There are a lot of things in our system that are maybe more practical than others, and some, to tell you the truth, are really good just for impressing people one-on-one as well. Don't be afraid to use it, any way that's going to work for you.
Right. Francis is asking, what percentage of the trade show prospects use the QR code? Again, Francis, that's going to depend on who your audience is and how exactly you're presenting the opportunity. Now, at this last trade show that my customer went to, we had a big sign, like a 6-foot sign, that said, and let me just back this all the way up and give everybody an idea that maybe you're not thinking of. The easiest way to get somebody to join your campaign, and I know we say this every single training that we do with you guys, is to have a good offer. On a trade show, I like to take that up a notch. Instead of just having a good offer, I like to have an honest-to-God, unbelievable, ethical bribe. And so, if you're a service-based business, one thing that you could offer as a prize to get people to join your campaign would be something like a free product, maybe the product that most people want from you. Offer one of them free. When you do something like that, you actually do a couple of things for your business that you may not be 100% aware of. If I'm a service business and I'm offering somebody my premium service for free, and I'm doing it in a contest environment, and I get 500 people that want that, what does that tell you? Those 500 people are automatically qualified to be my customers because they want my product. So when I talked a little bit about qualifying your leads, if you're giving away something that is directly related to your service or your product, you've already done one step to qualify them. You see where I'm going with that?
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic because a lot of times what you'll see people giving away something that has nothing to do with what they,
You know, and
just to try to build a list, and all you're doing then is building a list of people that want
not qualified people. Exactly. So you should think about that qualification process in everything that you create for this campaign. And what I just authored a series of tips, and you know what? I think I'll share it in our member site. I just offered a series of tips to somebody about using Instant Customer in a trade show environment, and I said to them, you know, you can absolutely offer an Apple iPad as a contest because you know what? First of all, everybody's doing it. Do you want to be just like everybody else? No, especially when there are 5,000 of you crammed into one floor all at the same time and everybody's going to see every one of you. You need to stand out from the crowd, so don't do what everybody else is doing. Offer something related to your service or your product, or offer your service or your product, one of them, for free, and that will immediately pre-qualify 99% of your list. And I say 99% because there's always 1% that walks around, they just want everything that's free anyway. But you know, that's a really big jump in who's on your list. You get people that want your service. Well, if they want your service but they didn't get it for free, I'm guessing you could probably sell it to them, usually. So
yeah, no question.
Yeah, so if you have an amazingly awesome freebie that you're giving away as a contest, you're going to collect a lot of leads. You know, what can that be? For this person, it was an absolutely gorgeous $900 hot rod grill. Looked like a hot rod engine, and everybody that was at this show, well, they thought it was cool. They wanted a grill to go along with their RV, the RV would go along with my customer's product. So collected a lot of names that way. Brent is asking, what are the top 2 or 3 most effective ways that you've seen to gather leads? That's one of them, Brent, right there. QR codes. QR codes are popular in some groups. Again, it's about knowing your audience. Did a lot of people use QR codes at the RV show? No. Will they use it at the next show? I'm sure they will, because it's a different audience, and it's not an RV show. Text your name and email. When I ask people to text in, I tend not to use name and email. I tend to ask for the name and email somewhere in the campaign as a way of engaging them and getting them to feel like somebody is personally texting them. It's an engagement strategy that I use. It works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Text your name and email is great with a younger crowd, but try asking a 60-year-old person who has limited eyesight to text all of that and the phone number on an iPhone or whatever smaller smartphone. Know your audience. If your audience can do that, or you think they will do that, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, I would say avoid it and use something like a short code. And then don't ask them for all of the information all at once. It might just frustrate them and they'll go away. Let's see what else we have here for questions. Rick, do you have any comments on that?
Real quick on that. Yeah, we were out this weekend, and we were at a restaurant that used kind of an interesting thing that I hadn't seen before, where they had you text in a keyword, in this case to a short code, which you can do with us, or you do it with a long code as well. And the first message they sent back was, to complete your registration, give us your email. And I thought that was a really simple. Yeah, I thought that was a really simple, effective way to, get that information in a really quick, just a really quick, easy way.
So let me share something else I did, and it was both a qualification step that I was doing, and it was I had an ulterior motive. So what I did was, people joined my campaign, and I sent them an email to confirm that they were in the running for this $900 hot rod grill. Now, I did say throughout the campaign process that the grill was going to be shipped right to the winner's front door. So when I sent the email, I had asked, or rather listed in the email, we're going to ship this straight to your front door. Here's the information I have for you. Please update it if it's not complete. And all I had at that point was their name and their city. And so there was spaces. There was blank space for the street address, and a good percentage of people went and filled that in because I gave them the link in their email to go and update their own profile. So my strategy was making it look like,
that's fantastic.
yeah, you're about to win, or you might have a chance to win, but if we don't know where to ship it, you're kind of out of luck. So there's lots of different strategies.
That's just a tag in our system called edit info URL.
Right. It's one of the tags that you can pull down from your autoresponder.
You can use that. Right. So you can use that tag in any email, and if they go to it, it automatically goes to all of their information, so they can update it, change it, add to it. It's actually a really effective tag to use.
Right. Christine's asking, with follow-up messages, is it possible to send messages out depending on the method used to opt in? Absolutely. If you opt in by text message, you can get your text messages. If they opt in by text message and you do not collect their email address, then they're only going to get your text messages. So you can thoroughly think through the information you're collecting from people, how you're collecting it from them, and make sure that they are getting a complete experience in your campaign. And what I mean by that is if somebody opts in by text message and you said, great, I sent you an email, but you didn't collect their email address, they're not going to get that email. So you need to think through the data that you have, the data that you need, and then the messages that you're sending, and make sure that these all connect with the one person that's going in by text, or the one person that's going in by email. And this is something that Rick and I harp on all the time. Test it, test it, test it, test it. Test it every single way and make sure your entire series of messages make sense.
Yeah, there's some other messaging that can be helpful in that, where when you set up your autoresponder, you have a section for when it goes out, and then you have another section that's called audience, and typically that's used with events, if somebody's completed an event or something like that. But there's also a couple of fields in there for like only if email is blank or only if phone number is blank.
Yeah.
So take a look at that audience part of your autoresponders. And you can put something in every once in a while, especially if you have something like this where you're kind of delaying asking the email address. You can set up something for a day later that says, hey, I didn't get your email address, and just set your audience to only if email is blank, so that the only people that would get that text message are people that you didn't get the email from, and then you just have that populate the email address field, allow it to allow replies, and then populate the email address with that. So that may go a little.
I was going to say that gives me a whole nother topic for another one of these webinars, because those are really useful. If you segment your messaging, you can do some really cool things with that. And yeah, Rick, I think we should hit that as another topic for one of these trainings.
Totally agree.
Right, so let me go through some more questions here. We've got a ton of them. There's a question here, can you talk about using the influence gathering and or disc profile for lead qualifications? Are these the same thing, or do they provide different information? These are not the same thing. These definitely provide different information. Influence gathering is your way of knowing who's active on the internet, and disc profiling is a personality profile test that lets you understand how that customer may interact with people or what triggers are important to them. I probably wouldn't do a whole lot of disc profiling until I got to a list that was really the list I wanted to work with, and I was going to be working with them in some sort of a more intense way. But the influence gathering could definitely be helpful if you're trying to spread the word about your products with a particular group. You could target the ones that score well, or score high rather, on their influence scores, because those are the people that are likely to talk about a good experience or a bad experience online. So you just make sure you give them a really good experience, maybe a little more hand-holding than you're giving the rest of the group, and they will go out and spread the word, which is what you're looking for. You're looking for people to spread the word and get more prospects. More questions. Do I think the prospect will be hesitant? Yeah, go ahead.
Let me follow up on that while you're checking out the questions. Let me follow up on that. I think in general, the influence scoring is really important for segmenting lists. like you said, then taking care of the higher scores. But you can still do that in a group. You can view active subscribers and check off, sort it by the highest influence scores, and check off the highest ones and send messages directly to them. That's what I do. I think the DISC profile is really meant for one-on-one stuff. When you finally got to a point where you're going to have an actual consultation with somebody, that DISC profile is really good to have on hand to see how they interact, what their strengths are, what some of their weaknesses are. What's going to be the most effective way for you to go after a close with that person. So that's the
I
distinction I
agree.
would make between the two of them.
I agree. And definitely, there's a whole lot more information. It's way different information that you're going to get from the DISC profile. And I absolutely agree with you on that, Rick. Somebody's asking
Yeah,
here,
and for everybody that's out there that
go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you've never used the DISC profile, if you don't know what it is, just send yourself an email through the system. Just create a demo campaign, put yourself in it, send yourself a broadcast. It's actually a really good training exercise to learn the system a little bit better. And you just use the DISC profile URL tag there, and that sends you an email with a link to it. You follow that link to fill out the DISC profile, and then you'll get those results back, both as a user and as an account holder or campaign holder.
Right. Got a lot of questions on QR codes coming in. Here's another one that's funny. Curious to know if the QR code on the t-shirts was printed on the front or the back. I had them printed on the back, and I did them on the back because two reasons, really. One, I wanted to be sensitive to where that QR code might show up, and the best scan you're going to get on a QR code is flat surface, and your back is flatter than your front for most of us. And so I wanted it on the back. The other reason I wanted it on the back was I wanted it to be something that people felt a little sly and sneaky about doing. So if it's on the back of your shirt and you're standing in line trying to get a cup of coffee, the person behind you can just kind of pull out their cell phone and go bloop and scan your back. And they actually had a lot of fun with that. My customers were doing this last week, and the first time it happened, they called me. They were so crazy funny. They were excited. They were standing in line, and somebody was like, pulled out their phone and scanned it, and they heard the noise. And they turned around real quick, and the person was like, oh, sorry, I was just, and they cracked up. They're like, no, go ahead, scan. And there were two of them in line, and these people were scanned by several people, and they just thought it was the funniest thing ever. But I wanted it on the back so that when the people are walking around in the hall, it's like a walking billboard. It's another opportunity for someone to scan it, whether or not they know anything about your campaign. And it worked. We got a fair number of scans, which was fun. So
yeah, I
I
think
put them
something
on the
like
back.
that is. I think that's a great idea. I think that having fun with it and finding a creative way to do that is a fantastic idea. Can you do me a favor and just talk a little bit about what happened when people scanned your QR code? How did you have that set up? What would the end user still have to do? Can you just run through that for the people that really have no idea what happens when you
Yeah,
scan a QR code?
yeah, good point. So QR codes can do a number of things. I use them a lot to have people opt in by sending a text message. So I compose the QR code so that it composes the SMS for you. That way there's no typing. I don't have to worry about mistakes or anything else, right? I put the number in there, I put a keyword if I'm using it, and they just scan it and hit send, and they're done. They're in. This time I used it a little bit differently. I was anticipating that these people may not be text message people. So I had the QR code scan to the lead capture page. And the lead capture page explained more about their contest. So their contest was to win a hot rod. It was a hot rod barbecue. And the t-shirts just said, want to win a hot rod? Scan me. So this particular crowd, there's a fair amount of crossover between people who own classic cars and people who own RVs. And that's why we created the t-shirt the way we did. I wanted to create enough interest that somebody would want to know what was going on, and if they knew how to scan, they would scan that shirt. And that's exactly what happened. And that scan brought them to a lead capture page where it explained that it wasn't a hot rod, it was a hot rod grill. It actually had a picture of the grill, and then there was a spot where they could enter their name and email address to win. So everybody that scanned actually ended up in the campaign, so that worked well. Now, I knew that at this particular show there weren't going to be a whole lot of people running around that even knew what scan this meant. So that was a relatively small number of people at this show. But the next show they're going to is actually a hot rod show. So I think on that one we're going to blow it out of the water with how many leads we pull. And I think a lot of them are going to be scanning. Or they will stop and ask the person, how do I scan that? Because they'll want to win a hot rod. So part of knowing the audience there. You can have your QR codes do anything, and you can even have it call a phone number. And you can set up your QR codes right in your campaign. If you go to your campaign and look at the tab that's just to the right of the broadcast tab, you can set up QR codes to call your campaign phone number, to go to your Go page, which is your lead capture page, or to compose an SMS message for you. So think outside of the box about using those QR codes. Put them everywhere and direct them. Try to get everybody funneling into the same place. Do they need more information? Direct them to a lead page. Do they need to just send a text message to get into your campaign? Make it an SMS message. Do they need to call you? Make it dial a phone number. Hopefully that explains a bit more.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really, really good. I just want to point out a couple of things. The QR code that is sitting right on your dashboard does go to your lead page, your Go link.
Right.
You do have to, you definitely do have to use the tab and create if your QR code is going to do anything other than that. So we have the one right there that you can just, right click and take the image and put it wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones definitely, take a little bit more constructing.
Yeah, a little bit more, not that much.
So, no, not that much, but this is another one of those places where definitely go in there and try it.
Yeah, try it.
Set it up. And what you said with the keyword, I think, is really important because the QR code is not going to steal any magic information from their phone, okay?
No.
If you set it up to text in, then you can have the number to text into, which is great because then they don't have to type it in. They scan it and it just creates a text message. If you're using a keyword, I think it's really effective because then they don't really have to put in anything. Now you can, once they do that message, you can have them put in their name and email. You can make that part of the directions.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of tricky, and I think at this point using some sort of a keyword there and then having the first thing that comes back ask for the email or whatever you find.
That's my usual method too. That's my usual method. Rick knows this, that I usually have people text in a keyword to my long code. And I do that because I want to have that interactive message with them because that makes them more engaged. They're like, whoa, somebody just texted me. And they reply. They really get into it. And when I do it like that, my keyword is always the name of the show or what they're going to win. That way they're excited. They're like, whoa, all right, now I remember this, and it really sticks with them.
No, and that brings up another point where we're going to probably have to do a whole thing on
I think so.
QR codes and keywords in here, because what you just said is really interesting in that, you can, using keywords with the long codes is a little bit tricky. There's a box there that will turn off, the default is that when you text into the system, it's going to take whatever you send and put in the first name box. It'll recognize an email address and put that there too, but anything else, it's just going to assume you're asking for first name.
Right.
But if you do, you can create a custom field, and you can have that first custom field accept keywords. Now, in this case, it doesn't work like a usual keyword. It's really just kind of a way to get people to send something, and then it doesn't matter what it is. Really, we put in there more for tracking purposes.
It's exactly what I use it for.
Yeah, under that circumstance, though, you can use whatever keyword you want. If that's not a shared word or anything. So it doesn't matter if somebody's on the short code's already got pizza or something. You can put pizza in your long code key, or you can have them send in whatever you want, even multiple different things, so you can sort it, like we said, and track it for like an ad source or the source of how they got it.
Absolutely, I do that all the time. And you can also go back and just add them all later if you're going to keep running the same campaign, or you can switch them on the fly. So today you're doing the RV show, so you have them text RV. In 2 days, you're traveling around the country and now you're doing the hot rod show, so you have them text hot rod. Whatever it is, it'll help you sort and manage that group later. And speaking of
Yeah, I
sort and
mean,
manage,
technically,
yeah, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go.
It's harder when you're not in the room so I don't know that you're going to speak.
I know, and we got a little delay here too. So.
hmm So what I was going to say is, speaking of sorting, I have a bunch of questions coming up now on uh, how do you get that list to the customer when you're done. You can go into any campaign and view the active in that campaign and export that list. And you can just export it as a CSV, which is a comma separated value file, which can be opened in Excel or any spreadsheet program. And that would export the whole list for them. I don't tend to, I did print out and export a list, but we did it because they wanted to then go and call some of those hot leads. But we're still managing the flow of communications out from them, and they will get 2 months worth of messages as part of their joining at the campaign. And this brings up the story that I really want to share that was phenomenal. So if you have a really, really, really good offer to get people to join your campaign from this trade show, and that offer somehow pre-qualifies them, there's a lot of people there that are possibly just joining because they want to win the prize. So my customer actually expected that half of the list that he got was going to leave as soon as we announced who the winner was. And to both of our surprises, that is not at all what happened, which told us both immediately that this group are all really well qualified. They did, first of all, we had sent a follow-up email, and that follow-up email had a 46.5% open rate.
Wow,
And
that's great.
yeah, and then we are more than a week out from their close of show, and I've only had 22 people unsubscribe. So these people are still engaged, they're still interested, and they're following along. This is a really good list for these guys. So you can export your list,
Yeah, clearly.
and you can use it for follow-up calls on your really hot leads. Karen is
Hey, let
asking,
me get. Oh,
yeah, jump in.
I just want. I know we're running out of time here. I wanted to get one question in here that uh, I know tons of people are going to be interested in, and that is this: how did you find this client? How did you figure out how to price this? How did this, that RV one, how did that come together?
The client found me, and they'd heard about some work that I had done for some others, and they got in touch. It was a series of not a conference calls, but series of phone calls. It was 2 phone calls, I think, where we talked first about everything they were thinking they might have an opportunity to use things with, and they mentioned that one of the ways I asked them, what are you doing for marketing? And one of the things they said they were going to do is they were going to attend a few trade shows. And I said, okay, when is your first one? And they're like, well, it's a month out. And I said, you know what? That is the perfect starting place for all of the things that you and I have just talked about wanting to do. So it was, and these always happen for me this way, that you have a conversation with somebody and you ask a question like, and one of my favorite questions is always, what are you currently doing for your marketing? And that's the exact question I asked them, and they told me about this trade show, and I knew that this was an opportunity for them not to have a stack of business cards with a rubber band on them ended up in their bottom drawer of their desk. And I told them, what I can do for you for the trade show is I can help you get a really big list of leads, pre-qualify those leads, and start following up with those leads before you even make it back to your desk. And by doing that, I'll be saving you a lot of time. I'll be helping you to maximize your investment on that trade show because everybody knows leads are best when they're hot. And I will be able to nurture that list for you with a series of communications that we send out for 2 months after the show. And we can nurture that list so that you end up with more buyers. And that is almost word for word what I told them. And they loved it. They thought it was a great idea. We had discussions, and I would advise
Is
everybody to
everybody
have these
is everybody taking? I want to know if
taking
everybody's
notes.
taking notes here.
I hope somebody's
They
taking
should
notes.
be.
So here's the one other piece I want to tell everybody if you're considering doing this, or if you're already talking to people that are doing trade shows and you want to help them out. Be really, really clear about what the expectations are and what your delivery is going to be. So when I say be really clear about that, I asked my prospect, my customer, I said, what would a good trade show be for you? What do you expect for results? What are you looking for? And they told me if we got 400 names, we would be really happy. We think 400 names would be amazing. We don't know if we can do it, but that would be awesome. For us, if we got 400, we would be so ecstatic. And I got them 515 names. Now, part of that was definitely that they were very willing to do the things I suggested. And the things I suggested were signs everywhere, big signs, 6-foot banners we had, and multiple ways in. So that 6-foot banner had a way for people to text in, it had a QR code for people to scan in, and a phone number for people to call in, all on that one thing. And I said, you're going to need a PC or 2 or tablets or something in the booth so that if somebody doesn't have a telephone, they can join right then and there. And they did that. I said, t-shirts would be, they mentioned we're having some company t-shirts printed up. I said, great. On the back of those t-shirts, I want you to print the QR code and a way to tease people in. And they did it. And I also said, I want you to train for a couple of hours. I want you to train everybody that's going to be in that booth. And I want them to try the campaign. I want them to ask questions. I want them to see what happens if. And I want them really comfortable. So they spent half a day training people. They showed them the signs. They showed them the campaign. They talked about the process. They all tried it. And they were all really enthusiastic about it. They scanned each other's t-shirts. I mean, they had a blast. And that was the big part, is like if you have a lot of energy and you're very passionate about something and you can speak animated, people love it and they want to join you. And that's exactly what they saw. So they got 515 people. They were excited, really excited about that. They still have 490, whatever it is, 515 minus 12, so 513 people. And these people are really well qualified, and they are already have at least 2 sales coming from that. Now, where they are, they can't pre-sell these because they haven't yet built them, but they have 2 people who have told them, here's my credit card number. Put a deposit down on it. Whatever you need to do, keep me on hold until that time. I want a premier membership. I want to be able to choose my thing when it's available. And that's already paid for the show. It's paid for the show and my services. So
the moral of this for me is that people are actively looking for better ways to do all this stuff. They do not know how to do it, and they know they need to be doing it. Your clients are going to come from successful ventures with other clients. The referral is going to be really, really strong, right?
Yeah. And by the way, I have someone who commented on your taking crazy notes. So people are taking crazy notes, Rick. People are getting this. And it is, it's 2-part. It's both think it through. Think about who the audience is and be prepared to meet that audience every single place they are. So I'll share this one thing with you. There is one thing that we did that I didn't quite think all the way through that I've changed for our next trade show. The next trade show kicks off in a couple weeks. And that is this. So I kind of made a point out of it already on this webinar. If you have a list that you're doing at this trade show and you announce your winner to this list, you will have to expect that some of them were only there for that and they will leave. But here's what I did. I sent an email after the last day of the trade show that announced who the winner was. And actually it was really funny because after I did that, another 10 people joined. So they had taken home some literature that had a way to join, and they were all excited about it, and they didn't see the winner because they weren't on the list yet. They didn't see that a winner had already been selected, and people were joining after the campaign. Here's the one thing I would change. I announced to everybody by an email. that this was our winner. And I expected some people to drop off. What I should have done is I should have used this opportunity to also grow my client's Facebook page. I should have sent an email and told everybody that I was announcing the winner on the Facebook page so that everybody who was in the campaign, 500 people, would then go to the Facebook page. And to get onto his Facebook page, you have to hit the like button. So that would immediately quadruple the exposure that this company got. Because those 500 people, once they like your page, now have a notice on their page when I announce who the winner is. And that would drive more people into the Facebook page. So that was my mistake, and it's been corrected so that next time we can capitalize not just on the people we're collecting as leads, but the people that we're now able to interact with on a daily basis on their Facebook page. So I would change that, and actually I have changed that. I was just so excited about everything else we were doing, I'd forgotten.
Well, we'll give you a break this time. This is the only time, though. But I think tying all this stuff together is really important. I mean, taking the list into your social media, getting videos to them, keeping them engaged, we talk about this all the time, giving content. What we're trying to do every week here is give content. I'm trying to practice what we preach a little bit here. But keeping them within your system so that, again, when they think of an RV, where do you think these people are going to buy from? You think they're going to go window shopping? I don't think so.
Right. So yeah. So the thing that was funny is I can't believe I forgot about the social media part, because that's usually my lead. That's my bread and butter. I help people with their social media, right? So I was like, "What? Go!"
Okay.
Homer Simpson moment.
We already told you we're giving you a break on this one. You get a one time. This is your mulligan right here, okay?
It's my mulligan. Thanks, I needed it. Okay, so a couple of questions on. Yeah, a couple of quick questions. I know we're running a little bit late today. A couple of quick questions on setup fees and ongoing fees. Yeah, so how do you judge a setup fee? You know, pricing. Everybody wants to know this. Pricing is going to depend on who your customer is. The average company that goes to a trade show is spending somewhere around $10,000 to get to that trade show, right? That's just for a small booth and a limited number of staff. The bigger the booth, the more money they're spending. So keep this in mind when you're pricing. How did I price? I priced fairly. I know what the value of a lead is to my customer. If they make 2 sales from each show that they go to, they've made an absolute fortune off me. And I would price accordingly. I priced basically a flat fee because I'm going to be doing a lot more work with these people, and I didn't want them to feel like I'm charging too much. So I gave them a flat fee per the campaign, and the campaign included 2 months worth of messages. Now the messages are not going out every week, and the messages are mixed media, so there will be voice message, there will be text message, there will be email messages. I'm using the whole 9 yards here. And you can make some good money on this. You can make anywhere between, depending on the company you're representing, I think you can make anywhere between $2,000 and $20,000, depending on how many trade shows they're going to run and how big their product is. I know that that's really vague, but know your customer. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. No, I think that is underestimated by most people researching your customer. A lot of businesses don't even know what a lead is worth they don't even know it themselves. So I mean, but that information definitely is out there, both in our community and just in general in trade publications, things like that. This is not, rocket science or anything. That information is out there. You do got to go get it. I think most of these trade shows, the numbers that I've heard from people that have handled campaigns for it, are definitely in the 4 digits, or anywhere at least from $1 to $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 per trade show. Is that pretty accurate, at least?
Yeah, I think $3,000 to $5,000 on average is a really good figure. $3,000 to $5,000 if you're a guy somewhere, middle-sized company. I think if they're a bigger company, if you're selling yachts, then it's going to be higher. Know what you're selling. Know what your value is. All right.
Yeah, and I think I actually think underpricing is a little bit of a mistake here, wouldn't you say?
Underpricing would be, unless you had another motive. Like I could look at what I did and say that I underpriced for sure. But before I gave a price on this, my customer and I were talking about five completely different campaigns. The trade show is just one of them. So did I
Right.
underprice a little on trade show? Yeah, maybe, but you know what? I have four more campaigns that aren't underpriced at all. So I think it was a good start for the customer. It gave him a really good feel good working with me, feeling because I've done successful by his standards. I gave him more leads than he was asking for.
Right.
He's got at least two sales immediately on those leads, so he's feeling really good about what I can do for him now. And if my price goes up a little bit on the next piece that I do for him, I mean, technically it's not going up. It's exactly where I would be, but I was honest with him. I said, I'm going to give you a really good deal to start on this, because I know that we're going to be doing more work together. And he's got three other businesses, so you know what? This was a
Oh, nice.
strategic ploy. This was a very
And
strategic move on my part. And so when I say know your customer, know your customer. Know, is this the only business they have? Do they only have one shop? How much does their customer spend when they come here? How many times can they get their customer in now? Do they have the best product? I mean, I do my homework before I talk to my potentials.
yeah, and I guarantee you, if he's got three businesses, he's got friends, and he likes to brag. So I think
Yeah.
you're going to do just fine on this one.
Yeah, so and I take that into consideration when I'm pricing something because I want that person that I do an awesome job for. I want that person to go out and talk to all of his friends about the awesome job that he just got and what it meant to his business because they will ask him, who did that for you and are they available?
Yep,
So yeah.
100%.
Yep.
All
All
right,
right,
let's
I'm going
get
to move
moving.
it along because yeah, we're running late today and I hate to keep you guys late. So my last slide was about amping it up. And by amping it up, again, I mean know your audience, consider every avenue you have to impact that audience, to reach that audience, to get them to join you. Use your social media. That was my takeaway from this lesson, and go big. And so you don't see this, Rick, but on my little slide there, I have a man lighting up a giant firework. Make
I
those
can see it.
fireworks. Oh, I didn't know you were watching. I thought you were just following along on a telephone.
No, I'm on an iPad here. It's actually working pretty good.
Nice. What? You want an apple? Tell me no.
It's Oliver's. I stole it from Oliver.
So here's my summary. Instant Customer can be used to streamline the entire trade show process. Don't take that lightly because your customer won't. Your customer wants to hear how they can capture more leads and get everybody in the funnel much quicker than they're doing right now. There's three distinct phases in a trade show campaign, in my opinion, and that is capture the lead, qualify the prospect, connect and build relationships. And think outside of the box. You will always hear me say this a million times. Think outside of the box. And then our last point
Not
of
too far
summary.
outside, though.
No, well, whatever. Rick, you want to tell everybody the formula for success that we have?
Of, of course, because I have it memorized because it never changes.
It does
Great
change. I change
campaigns
a word every
engage
time.
people. I know you change like different words,
One
but
word.
the formula itself, you're just changing values in the formula. Great campaigns engage people and keep them wanting more. It not only engages them, it keeps them engaged, keeps your clients' business in the front of their head for purchases they're going to make.
Right. And I think we now have some amazing special offers.
I would love to give the special offers today.
Oh, please do.
Okay, they have definitely reopened Cross-Channel Mojo. If you're not familiar with it, it is a comprehensive mentoring and training program given by the most successful users of Instant Customer over the last year. You're going to be using templates made from campaigns. They actually use successful campaigns, and they are actually doing the teaching. And then every other week, there's also an office hours where you get to ask them questions as well. You can get that at crosschannelmojo.com/web. We've been talking about trade shows today. One of the modules in there is from Fireman Mike Lemoyne, and that is a trade show domination module there. So if you're interested in really getting into this with somebody else that's done it very successfully, this is a fantastic program for you.
Right.
If you're interested in getting leads to your, getting eyeballs to your pages and our sister company, Geyser, does video marketing, blog marketing, article marketing. So it automates that whole process of, say, taking a video, getting a transcript of it, turning it into blog posts, putting it on video sites, driving traffic to your page. That's why it's called Traffic Geyser. You can get a free 21-day trial of Traffic Geyser at trafficgeyser.com/21days/web. And if you're interested in a way to take your take something like Traffic Geyser and pair it with something like Instant Customer, so you can have the whole system working together for lead generation and lead capture and follow-up. You can get that at Mainstream Marketing Machines 2.0 Fusion. That's mainstreammachines.com/web. So that is a completely integrated solution for lead generation and lead capture and follow-up.
Yeah, everything all in one. Okay, so that's it. Next week we're going to talk about, and Rick, you're at my mercy here because you weren't around to participate on this. Next week we're going to talk about how to capture leads from other places. We're going to go over the technical best practices using Instant Customer with your social media, and how do you get people to join you. So if you're around next week, yeah, actually I think it's going to be, it came from a conversation we were having here in the office. We've got a lot of new people starting in with Instant Customer here in our office, and today one of them was asking a bunch of questions about how do you get people into your campaign from other places, and so I thought, perfect, that's what we're going to do next week.
Well, so
yeah, if you are available next week, please join us live, same time and place, 2 o'clock on Tuesday. And if you're not available, yeah?
I believe we're going 2 o'clock Monday, is that correct?
Oh, that's right, we're late. No, don't we usually do Tuesdays? We usually do Tuesdays.
We usually do Tuesdays, but I believe we have another engagement there.
Oh, okay. Well, then check your email for notification. We will be available next week at 2 o'clock. And if you can't make it when we are, we do record these every week, and you can access any of the previous issues by going to your Instant Customer inbox, which is right on your main screen there, and following the link there. So we'll get this one up as soon as we can, and thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Rick, for joining us on the road.
You bet. Greetings from Baker.
Have fun. Long ride home.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, for sure.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.